Today on the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast, episode number 58, my conversation with Steven John from the YouTube channel Blippi, where he plays the main character and he creates content for kids, and it brightens the day. He shares the inside scoop on what it's like to create content for kids and his experience. Next in the podcast, let's do this.
Welcome to the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast, a podcast about a journey of discovery and conversations about not sitting on the sideline of life. Let's get involved. Here's host Joe Foley.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. Hey, my name is Joe, and I want to say thank you for being here. If this is your first time, welcome to the podcast. This is a podcast about a journey of discovery. What I mean is, I'm on a journey trying to figure this stuff out one day at a time. And I get to meet interesting people like our guest today. I enjoy listening to stories and listening to people's experiences to help me out figure what's the best for me. I'm not an expert. I'm on a journey just like you, taking one step at a time. Next up, my conversation with Steven John, the creator of Blippi, a successful YouTube channel that brings thoughtful and very good content for kids, fun content like shapes, trucks. Little boys love trucks, and you can see the content and how passionate Steven John is doing the videos for Blippi. He shares his experience of meeting kids as he's in character and seeing them and looking up to Blippi going, Blippi, I love you. Matter of fact, on the day of this recording, I actually just watched the Instagram video of him meeting a bunch of kids at the mall and them dressing up just like him with the orange glasses and the blue and orange suspenders. And it's an amazing thing. The kids can look up to him and enjoy seeing him. He shares a lot of inside information, and I want to share with you next. Let's jump right into the interview. Today on the podcast, my guest, Steven John, otherwise known as Blippi. Steven created educational, fun videos for kids. Thank you, Steven, for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be here.
One thing I guess I want to ask you, because, being Blippi and everything like that, and what is one of the most embarrassing moments of you being like behind the scenes as Blippi?
Yeah. Well, I mean, nothing in a way of like legitimately embarrassing when it comes to me and like personally. But one time I left the suspenders at the hotel, and which was kind of embarrassing on a business side of things of like, I'm Blippi, and it actually was just hectic and kind of stressful. So I was embarrassed just of like the lack of preparation of that day, and the hotel was pretty far away from the shoot, and obviously you can't really have Blippi without suspenders. So yeah, I was actually pretty embarrassed because also the people that we were filming with had a child that loved Blippi. Obviously, a lot of the shoots happen because of like the CEO has a child and they email in and say, hey, you could do a video on our company. But anyways, long story short, so I had to meet this child without suspenders, and I just felt super awkward, and we ended up using Postmates or something and getting some suspenders in the next couple hours. So it was fine when it came to shooting for the rest of the day, but we just had to stall for 2 hours and I had to apologize. Yeah. So I don't know. That was pretty embarrassing to me because I do like to think business wise and portray myself well. And so yeah, it was pretty embarrassing for me for getting my suspenders.
How did Blippi come about? How did you decide to develop this character as Blippi?
Yeah, so I developed the character, so I lived in LA, so I guess I could start from ground zero. So I lived in LA for multiple years, and my background was video creation and online marketing. So I was helping companies develop their websites, shoot these non-union commercials, put them as pre-roll ads, embed them on their websites. And so SEO, CPC, PPC campaigns, all of that for clients. And that's when I lived in LA. But then when I moved back up to Washington State, I purchased a rental property. And anywho, I made enough connections down in LA to travel down to LA twice a month on just the weekends and shoot commercials and everything after living in LA for 5 or 6 years. So my master plan was to live in Washington and travel down to LA to work while slowly actually purchasing properties and being a landlord and all of that. But anywho, long story short, I had a lot of extra time while up in Washington State being a landlord, and just because one property and then came two properties, being a two-property landlord didn't take that much time. So I just saw my nephew, who was 2 years old at the time, watching YouTube videos that were garbage and not educational, and didn't really incorporate anything that he liked. I can't remember if they had Netflix or anything, but just the convenience of YouTube and tablets and all of that. My sister and brother-in-law, they had. So anywho, I just saw him watching content and noticed that there was a potential void that I could fulfill if I did it right. And so that's basically how it all started. Was I created a show that he would love, and it incorporated things that he loved, like say tractors and diggers and airplanes and animals, but then incorporating education to it. And now, it's kind of transformed with that same aspect from the very beginning, but then adding to what content would I want to see if I was a child, or a lot of the content I do these things that children might really love to do, but they might not necessarily be able to do themselves due to the fact that they are children. So yeah, that's how it all came about.
I was wondering, I remember my son, I have a 4-year-old son, and
Okay.
he matter of fact, the reason I wanted the interview actually for the podcast, and he was like, well, I want to talk to Blippi. Like, I want to talk to Blippi. And it was interesting is I always see you, some of the videos, I see you riding the horses and tractors. Did you grow up around that by any chance? Because you look like you're doing very well. Really good job doing that.
Yeah. I've done some digging and farming in my life, and I'd like to try and do those things. And I've never been a construction worker or anything, but my dad owned a backhoe when I was a child, so I have some stick time. And actually, yesterday we crushed a car. I don't know if you saw that Instagram story, but the video is about the word crush. Mm-hmm. And so I got to operate an excavator, and the guy was like, oh, I've seen your videos, I know you can operate. And so anyways, it was a super, super fun day being able to crush a car and use my skills of being able to operate machinery. And I'm not that good, so don't get me wrong, but I do know how to play with the joysticks and stuff.
What is it like? So, what is it like creating the content? How do you go about coming up with content?
Yeah, so at the beginning of Blippi, it was totally different than what it is now, of how content's created and everything, but it's still very organic the way that it's created. But the general principle is, what would a child want to see? So my nephew at that time, or me, what would I want to see if I was that age? And then how can we tie in education to it? So a lot of it is these subjects of, say, like an airplane, and then, okay, how can we take an airplane and tie in education to it? So it's not so much, structured or anything like that. It's more naturalistic learning of, I'm doing these things and then tying in education to it. So it's a lot of research of like blog posts and science experiments and activities for kids. And it's a constant just watching children and watching children's videos and activities for kids, and then figuring out a way to how to make a video about that, or what subject do children like, and then take that subject or that animal or whatever it is, and then I hope that explains it. But a lot of it is, it's even like I said, how the content isn't structured, how we even make the content isn't structured. It's not, every episode is completely different. Some have songs, some don't have songs, some are indoors, some are outdoors, some are experiments, some are creative things. And so it's a fun process trying to figure figure out the next video to do.
Well, it's funny, Kevin. I realized that I'm watching a couple of videos with my son, and I see you in some of those indoor play areas. And have you? What is your experience like? What has been the tension? You see little kids, and they see you at the indoor playground and going down the slide. What kind of response do you get?
Yeah, so it's always super fun filming at those indoor play places, like you said, and because sometimes they shut the place down for us due to the fact that we've talked to them before going there, and they wanted good audio, and we wanted good audio. But when they're not shut down, and it's kind of a spur of the moment thing, because we might just randomly go to a play place and be like, hey, can we film? And they're like, yeah. And so anywho, it's pretty crazy how many children know who Blippi is. So if they know who Blippi is, it's open arms or high fives or just like Blippi. And so it's crazy that there's never been a time in the past couple years that we haven't been recognized by multiple people when we film in a public place. So that's always super nice. But when it comes to children that don't know who Blippi is, like maybe they don't watch Amazon or don't watch YouTube, and they're only on Netflix, and then they see this grown man playing around, I'm sure I can just imagine what they think. But I've never, there's children that in the very first play place, there was a child that was like, I like you, and like he didn't know who Blippi was, I could tell, and he just kept saying, I like you, and you can actually see him in the video, just constantly like looking at me, pointing, saying, I like you. So it's always good interactions, whether they know who Blippi is or not. So yeah, it's fun.
When I was doing the research for the interview today, and I was looking up, and I noticed one of the things I adopt a wish that there was a little girl from Connecticut. I don't know if you want to talk about that. That was very moving. By the way, she had asthma. You went to the zoo with her?
Yeah. So yeah, that's Ava. So she's still with us, and she's an amazing girl. So yeah, that was with Make-A-Wish. So now I'm doing a lot more of these Make-A-Wish Foundation things, and I guess first of all, it's pretty crazy being a part of these children's lives enough for them, which is all digital, enough for them to have this one wish that's going to be granted, and they could wish whatever they want, and their wish is to hang out with this character that I created. And it's always, whenever I do them, it's a very special day, and I never, or I shouldn't say never, but I don't really cry in real life too much. But like I always, like as Steven, it's not very often that I cry. I mean, my life, I'm happy with my life, and I'm just a happy person in general. But when I do these Make-A-Wish Foundation things, I end up always crying, and it feels really good to cry. But it sucks showing these children, because like I just can't help but cry maybe at the end of the day, or and it's so hard to hold back, and it's such a just special day. I'm obviously for them, because it's their one wish, but like for me, just thinking like I'm the person that, because I've done this thing, I've created this character, that I'm the one worthy to grant their wish. And it's it's such a touching experience, and so I'm very thankful that I'm able to grant these wishes. And but yeah, we went to the zoo. It was fun.
I saw it. I saw the mother, and in the interview when I saw the mother, she was on TV with the reporter, and all of a sudden you see tears in her eyes, and it was kind of touching. It was kind of moving, actually.
Yeah.
But it's one other thing too is being Blippi. When you first started, did you ever think that would take off as much as it did?
Well, I had the intention for it to turn into a career. Mm-hmm. Like when I had the idea of creating the show, I just thought like, oh, that would be super fun to be able to be this character that children love, because I had characters that I loved as a child, and I had a really good childhood, and I watched entertainment and stuff as a child. child. And so I just got super passionate about being able to turn it into a career. So, I did whatever I needed to do. I stopped accepting jobs for filming commercials and developing websites and marketing for clients and all of that. And so I had the intention for it to grow to what it is, but obviously you never really can tell if it's going to happen. But so it's crazy seeing that it's to the point, or on the way to where I imagined it that it could potentially go.
Did you ever have imposter syndrome? Like, they really, especially with the girl with the Make-A-Wish Foundation, she really was coming to see me. Her wish was me. Do you ever have the sense of an imposter syndrome?
Yeah, at the beginning, I guess it was weird at the beginning of, going from filming commercials and helping clients and stuff like that. I had doubters, let's say, of like, why are you going to do a children's show? That's lame. But now everyone's super accepting. But for me, myself, I was always fully confident in my decisions of, being able to create the show and I'm just a happy person and everything. And so I just figured that, if there's a person to do this independently and not a big corporation that just has an audition for this one character that someone's, getting paid for it or whatnot, I did it all on my own. I, obviously didn't make money for a long time starting it, but, from the very beginning, I was super confident of like, I felt like I was in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, what I wanted to do. Yeah. So it's been amazing. But then there's times where now I just think like it's crazy that I'm the one that, the whole Make-A-Wish thing, I just think like, wow, like this is like, I'm the celebrity to this child. And like my whole life, I looked up at celebrities and like, oh, that's a celebrity, you never see them or never, you never meet them or whatnot. But then I just realized like, shoot, like I'm that person to these children. And so anytime I meet children, or if there's a child on set, or I just happen to be at a location and they're there and I see that they know who Blippi is, like I'll stop the shoot and, the crew will have a quick break because I'm going to meet the child and their family or whatnot. Like the children to me are definitely the most important thing on all of this. And so so anyways, that answered the question.
That's definitely answered the question. And another funny thing, when I was doing like a little research before the interview, I found another YouTube video on Axe Family. You learning how to break dance. How'd that work out for you, the break dance?
Yeah, I still don't know how to windmill, but I'm almost there. That's a good buddy of mine, Axe Family, Cody, and he knows how to break dance and everything. And so I just was like, hey, let's go break dance. And so anyways, I've always wanted to windmill, but I haven't really applied myself to it. And so anywho,
it was a fun video to watch. I was actually quite entertained.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when the YouTubes, you have a lot of downloads. It's pretty impressive. It's actually very impressive with the downloads. And I also noticed you won the Amazon award there, the AVD Star winner. What does it take to win that award?
So I guess you just have to be in the top 100 performing self-published shows on Amazon. So when it comes to self-published, so not their like owned and operated shows. So in other words, the content just performs very well on Amazon. And YouTube, it does very well, like you said, on the amount of views and all of that. So, I'm just very thankful that it has the traction that it does have. And, all it really comes down to is retention time and the algorithms of, say, YouTube and Amazon and even Netflix, although Netflix might not be as algorithmic based, say, as YouTube, due to the fact YouTube retention time comes into it, location, keywords, click-through rates, thumbnails, emails, all of that stuff, watch time, where if channel activity, where if you don't upload consistently, then eventually your channel will go down, like all of that stuff. Amazon and Netflix and other platforms like that, same thing, where if your content performs well, it will continue to rise and beat out the competition, let's say. And so it's just cool to see that it has this traction and everything due to the fact that children enjoy the content. And I think that's basically how I am doing well when it comes to the content, is children like the content and they like the character. And so yeah.
And another thing too, I guess I was really interested to ask this question is, I went to your website, you have some merchandise for Blippi and stuff like that. And what is it, seeing yourself as a plush doll, like, like little, the like a pillow, and on t-shirts, does that take a little bit getting used to?
At the beginning it was pretty interesting, but now it's pretty normal, and it makes me feel good of like, wow, like there's parents willing to support what I'm doing, willing to support what their child loves, even if it's not made from a big corporation like Disney or Nickelodeon or whatnot, and it's just super cool seeing how things are changing in the world with technology and allowing creators, independent creators of doesn't matter what kind of content and media, but they're able to have influence, and as long as they have drive and consistency and dedication to their product, then from there it can very well take off. And so it's very cool seeing how people are supportive, and parents, I should say, are supportive of my content and even the merchandise, and so it's super cool.
A question about another thing too is live events. You mentioned on the website about live events.
Yeah.
Have they started already?
No, the live events haven't started. But that's one of the goals from the very beginning. I thought to myself, if I can make a children's show that parents and children would actually want to go see and take their free time to go and see something live and support and all that, then from there I've successfully created what I wanted to create. Obviously there's other things that I can do and I have planned, but so the live show has always been a big goal. So right now we're just in negotiations with production companies to figure out where to go, who's going to have the show, and how the show's going to work, and all of that. But it's trickier than ever that how, quick Blippi grew to where it is right now, where it's not a matter of fact of like, can tickets be sold or whatnot. It's to me, it's how can I do this with the time that I don't have, because of how involved I am in all aspects of it. It's not an animated show where I'm not on the screen. Like, I'm literally a part of every single shoot. I'm giving feedback for editing now. I used to be the sole editor, but now there's editors, there's animators, and so I'm giving feedback for animations. Like, luckily I'm growing a team around me and all that to do first rounds of feedback and revisions and all that. But so we're trying to save my time, but the live shows is definitely one of those goals. But it's just like, okay, YouTube, I need to constantly feed that monster, let's call it. If you don't, then from there, the channel might go down and all that. And so it's figuring out how to do that while being on the road, while doing these other commitments that I'm committing to for Blippi. And so, it's definitely a goal in the works, but there's things with it that I can do to save my time. Like I can have a mascot Blippi where it looks like Blippi and it's a mascot character, but it's like I don't want, I've built this character on this live action person. I don't, if I was a parent, I would love the real Blippi, but then there's people that have said, business people like, oh, the venues are going to be so big and so many people there, children and their parents like might not even know that it's not you if we cast the right people. But then it's like, I don't, feel good about that either. And so it's all very hard. And, it's weird being in this position of making these decisions of saying, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. Or yes, that's how it's going to be, because everyone's looking at me for answers. But to me, it's just like, I've just created this character for fun. And now it's like, now these hard decisions are coming into play of my life that are not only going to affect my life and the immediate people around me, they're going to be affecting, parents, millions of parents and children around the world, of whether it's the live show or let's just say videos as well. All of these things come into play of they're important decisions, no matter if it's that we even just add this one thing to a video or not put it in a video so I get on tangents, it seems like.
It's no problem. It's very interesting because you see a lot of YouTube videos now with a lot of like yours especially, and then I see my son loves the other one called, I think it's Hobby Kid or something like that, or opening all box toys videos and stuff like that. And he's 5. He's like, Daddy, we got to wait for screen time. But again, YouTube video is great when especially your Blippi is great when I need to wash the dishes, or if it's raining out and I just need a break for 5 seconds. But I even catch like when I'm leaving, I watch when I hear in the background, I can hear myself listening to all the music, and I keep repeating and singing. All of a sudden, I'll be doing something, and I'll be singing the songs. So, I guess wrapping up, any final thoughts on like maybe somebody wants to like start a YouTube video or anything you want to talk about?
I guess just for creators in general, like I was saying earlier, it's very nice how things are changing with the world and entertainment and technology, and it just empowers people to be able to do these things that they want to do. And so I just, suggest to everyone, if they have an idea, it doesn't matter what it is, if it's, let's say, about videos, let's say, or anything tech-based or even non-tech-based, if there's a way that you can bring in tech into it, or websites or online marketing or videos or into it, even if it's non-tech-based, then so be it. But the main thing with, say, videos would be creating good content, because it doesn't matter what platform it is, these algorithms are just getting more and more smart, which is a good thing for everyone, because then it allows for the viewer to have only good content in front of them, and it allows the creator to constantly craft their skills and to put their original ideas into the world. And I guess with all that being said, just think for yourself. Do the things that you want to do. Doesn't matter who says what to you. There's going to be doubters at the beginning. Like I had plenty of doubters of like, why are you wanting to do a kid show? Or there's people saying you can't have a beard for a kid show, and so I was like, watch me, I can do whatever I want. And so anyways, it's just those things of being able to decide what you want to do. And the most important thing is having good quality content, because if it's not, if the retention time, let's say on YouTube, isn't good, then there's literally no way that it's gonna grow, because if there's someone else making content that's better and people watch it more, it's gonna do better. It's not so much luck anymore at all. And it was maybe 10 years ago or whatever, but now it's, everything has to be strategic and organic at the same time, which can be very tricky, but it's doable. And the thing is, just be consistent and do what you want to do. Don't let other people sway your opinions and your desires of what you want to create.
Where can they connect with you?
Instagram, I guess.
Instagram
Yeah.
at Blippi.
Yeah.
Is it Blippi.com?
Yeah. No, actually, Instagram would be Blippi Official.
Blippi Official. All right.
Blippi Instagram. Yeah.
Well, thank you, John. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for being on the podcast today. I really do appreciate it. And
no problem. Have
a good rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to listening to it. I'm excited.
Well, that's all I have this episode. I want to thank Steven John for being a guest on the podcast. You can find more about him and about Blippi on YouTube or Blippi.com or Blippi Official on Instagram, where you see some of the, on Instagram, you see some of the videos of his experience of meeting the kids and being Blippi. Please, if any comments, please comment on the podcast. It helps improve the podcast. Let me know what you think. I always like to hear comments. Please, if you ever want to reach out, reach out. All my contact information is nosittingonthesideline.com/contact. You can find all the show notes for this episode at nosittingonthesideline.com/58. I think I remember that. Give a second, sign up for the newsletter. Keep up to date what's going on. Also, listening to the interview and actually interviewing Steven John about Blippi and hearing his passion, I got a little story to tell you. This weekend, when I'm not with my son, I work part-time as a rideshare driver. And I met this elderly woman, 77 years old. And she's like about 4'11", not very tall. What surprised me is when I come up to her door to pick her up, she comes out with a leather hat, leather jacket, her guitar case with a skull and crossbones on it. She's telling me she can go play the band down the street, rock and roll and country music. You can hear the passion in her voice. Kind of reminds me of Steven John, how he's passionate about being Blippi. And being passionate in what you do, it means a lot. That's why I enjoy the conversation with Steven John and my conversation with my passion that afternoon. Be passionate in what you do. Be passionate being a parent. Sometimes it's hard. But it's worth it. Well, that's all I have this episode. I want to say thank you for listening. Until next time, take care. Give your kids a hug. Tell them how much you love them. This is important. God bless. Take care. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. Please subscribe to the newsletter to receive updates of the show and helpful and useful tips. This has been a production of Foley 42 Media.